This is the Classic Auto Mall Show. Broadcast from the studios inside the Classic Auto Mall in Morgantown, Pennsylvania. Just 1 hour west of Philadelphia at Pennsylvania Turnpike exit 298. Featuring nearly 1,000 classic, vintage, and barn-find vehicles for sale under one climate-controlled roof. Now, here's your host, Classic Auto Mall president, and the man with all the toys, Stewart Howden.
And welcome, show number 225, just back from Christmas holiday.
Happy
Everybody
holidays.
have a nice Christmas
Yeah.
and everything.
Happy day 365.
Yeah, that's
it's hard to believe it's the end of the earth. I mean, the end of the world. I mean, it's the end of 2025.
Is it a leap year? Is it 366?
No,
It wasn't
I
a
don't
leap
think
year.
Was
so.
not.
So let's don't get into the leap year thing.
Let's
all right?
not, please. It's very confusing.
Yeah, exactly. I'm confused and I wasn't sure what day it was for a couple of days.
I was
It's
once
true.
slept. It was no fun.
All right, so quickly before we get to our wonderful guest, how many cars in inventory? JR, go
I've been
first.
so out of this with not this missing a show, and I'm going to guess 950.
Oh, okay. And
Well,
Steve?
with the holidays and everything, it's been a little slow. We had some weather, too, which affected things. What did you say, 950?
Yeah.
I'm going to go 951.
Oh, you bum.
957.
Oh, I hated those people on the Price is Right.
Me too.
Yeah, 2000. The guy bids $2,000.
$1.
2001.
And you're one of them now.
Exactly. So let's get to our guest, Jack Baldwin, race car driver, joining us this morning from. Where are you at this morning, Jack?
Good morning. Well, I'm in beautiful Blairsville, Georgia. Which
Blairsville.
is a small mountain town in the mountains of North Georgia.
I love North Georgia, and I love East Tennessee, and I love Western North Carolina. That's my favorite little hub of the world right there.
I'm right there.
I grew up in East Tennessee, so I know that area well. So, and too bad, they were doing a great event down in Chattanooga, the Chattanooga Motoring Festival that they were doing for a few years, and they didn't do it this past year. And it was such a shame because so many people that had not been to that part of the world didn't realize how cool that part of the world really is.
Oh, and Chattanooga is a happening place.
It really is.
The youngest daughter's getting ready to move there, and a lot of young people I know have moved there. So it's a good little town.
Yeah.
It's on point.
Yeah, it's we were in Knoxville. We used to look down our nose at Chattanooga, and I think Chattanooga said, "We'll show you." So,
I mean, it's not that far from Atlanta. I mean, it's an easy drive on the interstate.
Sure.
It's real quick.
well, growing up in Knoxville, Atlanta was the only thing that we had that resembled a big city. It had a pro sports team. They had shopping. They had,
Right.
we grew up. That was where you went once a year down to Atlanta to the big city.
Yeah, we are. I'm just due south. If you look at a map,
Right.
just south of Knoxville, just over the North Carolina line into Georgia.
Oh, that's a wonderful part of the world. And of course, you got one of the greatest roads in the history of roads, the Tail of the Dragon, right there.
Old Dragon.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's that.
Big. It's a big motorcycle area.
Sure. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense on motorcycles. It's a little tricky in a car. It's almost too many curves, if that even makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So you started out at race car driving like everybody, probably go-karts in Formula One or Formula Ford, or what was your what was your starting point?
Well, I grew up in Tampa, Florida.
Right.
So the home of Don Garlits.
Right.
And
Right.
so we had,
Drag racing.
all the roads are flat and straight. We had 3 drag strips and 2 ovals. So I was into drag racing, obviously, and
Sure.
that's what. And the way it happened was, it's kind of a crazy story. I was drag racing. I was pretty good at driving, and I was just, a hot rod kid, doing what I could, and. I from an early age, I wanted to be a race car driver.
Right.
I've never been able to figure out where I got that from, but
Right.
I just wanted to do it. So I did what I could do in those years, and drag racing, and that's what I could do. That's what was available, so that's what I did, and would hang out at Don's shop and just, I was just a kid, hanging out at the fence, that type of thing, and. When they built Gainesville Dragway, I was telling Judy, when I built Gainesville, that's where I met Linda Vaughn.
Right.
I was 18 years old. I transferred from Miami-Dade Junior College to Santa Fe Junior College in Gainesville only because of the dragster.
that was your carrot, right?
It has nothing to do with school. So, yeah. So and this is kind of crazy, but I would, at Gainesville, they got return roads and they're a little bit banked. They're off to the right and they're a little bit banked. And I'd find myself going through the corner and kind of throttling off the corner and thinking to myself, man, I'd like to keep going.
Yeah, this is fun.
So I had a friend of mine. Well, first thing we did is we took my brother's Cortina. He had a little Cortina GT with a little 4-cylinder motor. It was a pretty good little, right?
Yeah. Rare car for the States at the time, too, I would imagine.
It was a rare car. It was a good little car. And he had a minor accident with it. And so he was at a dealership getting fixed. And I was talking to some people about, how do you get started in this? What do you do? I asked this one guy in Clearwater, I said, well, what about a Cortina? Do they make good little, because you got to start somewhere. It's like sports car. Back in those days, it was SCCA. You had a driver's. So he said, oh, they make great little cars. Oh, yeah. I called up Bill Curry Ford. I called the body shop. I said, have you painted that car yet? Nope. And it was like that Ford gold color.
Yeah.
I said, forget it. Do not put the interior in the car. Paint it hugger orange, put a flat black hood on it, and leave. That's it. We're done.
We're done. That's a race car.
And they did it. So here comes the car. My mom sees it. Oh, it's like, what in the world? So my brother drove it to school and back. We'd stick the muffler on it.
Right.
And then my brother stole it to school and back. And then on the weekends, we would take it to a little SEC. I had to go to driver's school and stuff.
Sure.
And Glen Blakely, who's a pretty famous fabricator. He
right.
worked for Don, did build a lot of Don's cars. Ended up, in the end, he worked for Gurney.
Right.
Glenn had the shop out there, and Glenn made me a sway bar for it. He just whipped it up. Wow. He said, I'm going to make you a sway bar. He whips up a sway bar. We set the car. Car was awesome.
Right.
I won every race. It was like, that's how he started. So that's what happened. The car got wrecked at Daytona. A guy from behind just crashed into me in the car.
Well, because that happened a lot in Daytona with the disparity in the classes, right?
Right. And, we had no money, zero money. So now the car's behind the garage, it's wrecked. My mom's not happy. My dad owns a driving school, so Safeway Driving School. So the whole thing was just not
right.
It wasn't calm. And then a buddy of mine, a buddy of mine, and about the Cortina, I got a call during that period, and they said, we're trying to start a new organization, and would you be willing to bring your car to Daytona for a race? And I said, yeah, but I was thinking like, hey, I need some money for gas.
Right.
Well, we can't give you any money, but we can maybe give you $50 or something. It was like that.
Right.
And I drove it over there, and that was the very, very beginning of IMSA.
Wow.
There was and I don't think enough of us showed up. We didn't have, but it was a group of guys from the area showed up, and that was the very beginning of IMSA.
Wow.
Just a little, little point there.
It's kind of amazing how what IMSA grew into, and it still is to this day. I
mean, that's how it started. But anyway, so then a friend of mine, who I knew in Gainesville, a little young entrepreneur, somebody owed him some money.
Right.
He called me up and he says, hey, I loaned somebody some money and he owes me money and I've got this car as collateral you want to drive. It's supposed to be a race car. We don't know nothing about it. I said, sure. What is it? And he said, I don't even know. It's on a trailer in Washington, D.C. He says, come by, pick up. This is how we did it in those days. He says, come up here. I'm in Tampa. He said, stop by Gainesville. I'll give you a couple $100.
Right.
You go pick it up. Find the car and pick it up. He gives me a piece of paper, $200. And I'm in my Cutlass, my 66 Cutlass, 67 Cutlass.
Right.
And I drive, me and my buddy Ray Brooks, who's, I still know him today. He's a retired attorney. We drive up to Washington, D.C., to this address. We go in this warehouse. We open the door. Here's a brand new March Formula Ford. Brand new trailer.
Wow.
Seriously.
Wow.
I mean, they only made like 5 of these Marches.
Right.
It was like a brand new March sitting there, red, on a trailer.
I bet your heart just about jumped out of your chest.
Well, I'm like, what the hell is it?
It's not a Cortina.
I'm thinking like, okay, well, I would watch the IMCA sprint car races at the fairgrounds, And so I got the car. I'm a Formula Ford racer.
Wow.
I mean, I just hopped in it and I didn't know what I was doing. I just drove the hell out of it.
Just figured it out, right?
Won a bunch of races, figured it out, went to the Went up to Atlanta. That's what brought me to Atlanta.
Right. Well, yeah, because Road Atlanta, you said, was built there.
In 1970. So they had their first race around 69, 70. And I did a race in November of 1970. It was like the second race they ever had at Road Atlanta.
Right.
And I drove up there and, it's just like when we went to VIR. We went to VIR. We found it in the middle of the woods.
Yeah, it was hard, not easy to find. They didn't have GPS back then,
No. And, so a lot of these tracks you had dirt road getting in, but with Atlanta, so I went up there to Road Atlanta. I've got my Cutlass and my little flatbed trailer and me. It's just me, I don't know what I'm doing. I got
no team.
No, I got a little toolbox. I'm pretty good with tools. I'm a mechanic, so. And then so Bobby Renzer, if you remember that name.
That name's familiar,
Motorsports.
Oh, yeah.
He owned the RC Cola Can-Am car.
Yeah, I remember that car. Golly, that was a cool livery.
Charlie Kemp drove it or something like that. But anyway, so he sees it. He's in a little Winnebago and the paddock. The original paddock is still there.
Right.
It's the same paddock.
Sure.
So he's in a little Winnebago. He's the only one with a Winnebago. It's like probably about a 24-foot Winnebago.
And that was Mr. Fancy Pants, right?
And that was Bobby Renzer, who was the man.
Right.
He owned the Can-Am car. He had this big race team at the Pichu de Cave Airport and so on and so forth. And so he calls me over. I walk over there. I sit down. He says, "Who does your motors?" And I said, me? Who does my motors? He said, who's your team? Who do you? I said, look out the window. That's it. Right.
That's it. That's me and everything. It's all of it.
Come into pits. I'd get by the car, change the gears, jump back in the car. I could do it in like 9 minutes or something. And so that's how it started. He said, you could be, you're pretty good. You could be a race car driver. You should move to Atlanta. And I said, okay, well, so I had $250 to my name. I got the race car, put it on a trailer. Jim didn't care. Jim Forsman is the guy that owns that Formula Ford.
Sure.
And I took it to Atlanta and $250 and moved into Bobby's partner's basement.
Oh, wow. I read somewhere that you said you got into IMSA as a poor boy with fast aspirations and a slow income.
That's very accurate. Honestly, thinking back, Stewart, I didn't have a mentor.
Right.
My dad was a good man. He wasn't a bad man, but he just wasn't engaged with what I was doing. He owned Safeway Driving School.
When you say driving school, people are thinking Bob Bondurant and Skip Barber. No. This was teaching you how to drive around the neighborhood.
He was one of the founders of driver education as it is today.
Wow.
So in Florida, he was like the guy who started driver education.
Right.
So I was nothing more than a hot rod crazy kid. That he forbid me to go to the drag strip. I went to the drag strip anyhow. I was pretty big and strong, and so that's how it was. I didn't have any money, none,
and no support from anybody. So no sponsor, no nothing. So
no, my dad was good. Honestly, if I did everything good and I was great, I didn't get thrown to school, I made grades. $20 on a Friday.
Right.
That was what I could get. I could hit Dad up for a $20 bill.
Yeah. And
that was the math. Could they come up with maybe 500, which would be big?
Right.
So I don't know. That's how we did it. Well, to fast forward 2 years later, I moved to Atlanta. Got into it. Somebody else called me and said, "Hey, you want to drive my race car?" And so one thing led to another. 2 years later, I'm U.S. Formula Ford champion.
That's 1972, right?
So that was in Wentzville, Missouri. They had a race.
Where in Missouri?
Wentzville.
Oh, wow.
Outside of Wentzville, Mid-America. It's still there.
Yeah.
So they had a race, and what they did is they were doing that race at Brands Hatch, the World Champion Formula Ford thing. And every country got to send 2 or 3 people, depending on the size of the country.
Right.
So U.S. got 3. We got 3 candidates. So the way the SCCA decided who are we going to choose, they had a race, and they invited all the current champions, all the past champions, and all the current regional point leaders. Wow. And I was a regional point leader. I never lost a regional race, won them all. Right. So I got invited. So I literally, this is crazy. I live in an apartment. I had this car that that this man named Jack Miller owned,
Right.
and the night before I was leaving to go up there, a guy calls me, and I can't remember his name, but he was just a guy who worked at a car dealership, and I knew him. He says, "Who's going with you?" I said, "Well, nobody. I mean, I don't have
It's just me.
I had a Ford van, a stick shift van with a 5-liter little V8 Ford motor in it. And I had the van, and I had that flatbed trailer and that race car, and I had some tools. And so he said, "Well, I'll go." And I said, "Okay, we'll be over here." He jumps in the truck, and then we go up there. And we pull in, dirt road coming in, we're all in. And I got there about 3:00 in the afternoon. And shortly after I got up, who showed up? Who came? I heard somebody coming. And it was Bruce McGinnis.
Right.
Who at the time was, Bruce was like the man.
Right.
So it was him and I. And long story short, and we had a classic race of back and forth. And on the last lap, the old, pass on the very last lap.
Wow.
Was for the race, but I ended up winning by about a car length on the very last lap of the lap,
Right.
And so it was me, Bruce, and a guy named Ron Dykes from California that went to because he finished third in that race.
Right.
So we went to Europe and raced in the world champions. It was a huge mess.
Right.
They hated Americans.
Right.
They gave us no chance. They made sure they told us flat out, "We don't care who wins, but we just want to make sure you don't.
You're not the one who's going to win."
You're not the one." And they were, and there was a whole story about that I won't get into, but I did it. Sure. I did it. And I mean, I literally Ford gave us, I think Ford contributed $500 to a scholarship to go over there.
Right.
And that's what we did. I went over there and I did my best. And when I came back, I thought, okay, Formula Ford is a pretty recognized class. If you're good, you're
worldwide, right? I mean, it wasn't just.
I mean, I was I was pretty good at it, and my phone, I thought, well, this is going to open some doors for me.
Right.
I'm still living at home with my parents, And
get mom to act like your secretary,
I'm back
right?
and forth. I'm actually back and forth.
Sure.
Like this, because in those years I took the guy that owned the car was he was a big deal with Steel Erection Company.
Right.
So I became an iron worker.
Right.
And I was walking high steel because they paid a lot of money.
They paid huge money. Yeah.
I still have my American bridge belt and my spud ridges back from those days. I always kept them, but I did that. You see the cable with the iron worker and like this. I did that.
Yeah.
I did all.
It's crazy. Watching those guys work is nuts.
I used to go up every morning and walk the perimeter beam, and they would get me they would call me down and say, "You cannot walk the perimeter beams." I go, "Well, I'm just warming up. I want to get used to it." I just decided you got to walk a straight line and don't. If you fall, don't. It's what's in between falling 20 feet or 1,000 feet. Right. So, I don't know. But anyway, that's what happened. I mean, my phone rang. And everyone wanted to know how much money I had.
Right.
And I didn't have any money. Right. I mean, I had no money. And so it was a long haul, Stewart. It was 15 years
of struggle.
Of not giving up.
Right. I read somewhere that you said in the SCCA runoffs, you might have had 3 different tire brands on your car at any given time. And if it was black and held air, you raced on it.
That was absolutely true. I would walk through the paddock when I was doing those races. I would go out to the paddock and I would look for tires that, were not were old, but they didn't have a hole in them, right? I didn't have any. So I've actually got a picture of a car with, a Dunlop, a Goodyear, and a Firestone on it. I mean, I didn't have a choice. It was either make it happen, make it work, do what you can.
Right.
Or don't do it.
And that could never happen today. I got to imagine when kids come up to you and say, "What do I got to do to get into racing?" Your response would be, if you're asking me, you're already behind the curve. I mean, you either start as a kid and, in carts or you have money.
you have to have, yes. Today, you really have to have the money.
Right.
I mean, and you have to have talent. At the end of the day, you have to have talent. If you have money and no talent, you can do it, but you won't do it for long. You'll do it till the money runs out.
Sure.
Or to the money you decide to stop spending it.
Yeah, you say, I'm tired of, I took $2 million and made it into $1 million, right?
So, I mean, through those 15 years, I mean, I went, and of course, 1974 was, that was when we had this depression, I guess, whatever, the fuel
crisis, right.
Yeah, the fuel crisis. I had no idea. I didn't even watch the news, nothing. So I'm pitching all my people. So I'm working for Road Atlanta.
Right.
So I'm thinking, I've got a job. It's not paying me a ton of money, but I'm the very first instructor for Road Atlanta.
Wow.
So we did the very first highway patrol school.
Right. That must have been fun, driving those big sedans back in '74. And wow.
We had the big giant Plymouth with the 440s, and we had the Fords with the
460s or
427 in it.
429 or one of those.
429, whatever the thing was, a big Galaxy giant. And we did all that, and I just tried to, but I couldn't find money. I just couldn't. I couldn't get there, and then I did spend some time in the rock and roll business.
I came up with the silver wings on the black shirt for Aerosmith. Nice,
absolutely true. So I got into the T-shirt business because I needed a job. First of all, I needed a job. Right. I had to have some money to live. So my neighbor was in the T-shirt. He's like, I work for this company, and I went and I walked in. I said, "Look, I'm not saying I'm not going to sell 12 dozen to the bar down the road or whatever, but I want to make a lot of money doing this because I have a plan, and my plan was to make a bunch of money and then sponsor myself."
Sure.
Well, so I had big vision.
Sure.
So my first big account, my first customer was Evel Knievel.
How cool is that?
Seriously. So, that was when Evel was hot stuff.
Oh, he was the biggest thing in the world. Probably the most famous guy in the world, right?
Well, in those years, Evel was pretty famous. So I tracked him down. I mean, we didn't have cell phones.
Right.
So I figured out, Bozeman, I think Bozeman, Montana is where he was.
Lived or.
Whatever. So I got his wife on the phone. And hi, it was Evel. Well, he was in Clearwater. Do you know where he's staying? Well, not really. He's staying at some Holiday Inn. I know it's on the beach. So I'm in Tampa. So I'm in Atlanta now. Right. So I get in my car and I go down there, and I have a picture of me flying through the air on a motorcycle because I'm still into motorcycles. Right. I'm still dirt bikes, but I was into them then. So I'm on the official bike for Road Atlanta was Husqvarna, so I'm riding a Husqvarna. So I got a picture of me flying through the air on this motorcycle. I find Evel in this. Back in those days, is he here? Yes, he's in room 302.
Yeah, they didn't care.
9:00 in the morning. I'm serious. 9:00. I drove all night. Back in those days, you just did it.
You just went and, you didn't care.
Didn't care. And I found the room, 9:00 in the morning. I'm knocking on the door. And the door opens. And it's Evel Knievel. Wow. And he looked, you can imagine getting up in the morning, a guy with that many broken bones.
Yeah.
I mean, he looked rough.
Yeah, I bet.
And I said, hey, I'm like you. I'm like you. I held up a picture of me flying.
The validation picture.
I said, I just want to talk to you about an idea that I've got. And so he said, come in.
That's crazy.
So I said, look, I want to do your T-shirts. Nobody was doing his T-shirts.
Wow.
So I ended up with the international merchandising rights, marketing, the Evel Knievel.
Wow.
Stewart, I'm going to tell you something. I didn't have a clue.
Well, that's why if you'd have thought it through, you'd have never knocked on the door in the first place, right?
I was just throwing mud at the wall, right? So he says, okay, I'll do it. There was no contract. Right. There was no Evel. So I come back to Atlanta and I go to the regional office of Sears and Roebuck because back in those days, Sears was a big deal, right? Big deal. I go into Sears. I said, I want to talk to the guy who buys the T-shirts. And they said, okay, come in here. You know, back in those days, they would actually let you come in. And
Right.
I said, well, I want you, and I had a bunch of samples. I said, here, I want to say. He says, well, do you have any proof that we got him on the phone? I said, no, but we can call him. And I call Evel and I go, here, tell this guy.
I'm good.
I had nobody, like, if I'd have had an adult saying, Jack,
Wait a minute, this is a bad idea.
let me work with you a little bit here. We could turn this into something good, you know? Anyway, listen, I sold a bunch of shirts.
Sure.
I sold a bunch of shirts. So that got things going. Now I've got the Evel Knievel thing. So now I'm down at Daytona. I'm in the Goodyear Lounge, and I'm sitting up there, and there's a guy named Maury Eisman. I still know Maury to this day. He lives in California. So Maury, and a lot of footnotes here. A lot of
Sure.
he was the promoter for the original Rock and Road race at Road Atlanta, which was the first concert race, the biggest race Road Atlanta, and it was a huge event.
Right.
And it was up until like the Petite came.
Yeah, until the 70s. I remember we went to concerts there in the 70s and 80s.
It was called Rock and Road.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I'm sitting up there, I'm talking to Maury, and Maury says, look, I got this group of guys. You need to call this guy. You need to call this guy Ray Tabano. Here's his number. He said, there's a group of guys up in Boston. They're starting out. They're called Aerosmith. And they're starting out, and they need somebody to do their T-shirts. Okay.
Sure, we'll be glad to.
I call them up, come on up to Boston, come up to the deal. So here they are, a bunch of kids. They're Aerosmith, but they're not
Aerosmith. Right. So we start doing their T-shirts. And, and then the companies start doing more and more rock and roll. Sure.
But we're doing, honestly, we had assorted darks and assorted lights, right? And that's what we had.
That's all you had. You didn't.
So I'm sitting there, we're printing a bunch of shirts, and that's what we're selling at the time. And I said to myself, I just don't see Aerosmith on a beige shirt. I mean, a powder blue? Come on.
Yeah, doesn't fit.
So I went in and I said to the production guy, I said, hey, you ever print on black? How about, you ever print black shirts? He said, well, they're hard to print.
Right.
I said, okay. I went into the president at the time, Steve Cohen, and I said, Steve, get Universal Ink. They sent a guy over here. It's just how I did. I said, send a guy over here, buy a washer and dryer and hook it up in the back, and get the guy from Universal Ink over here because I want to do some silver and black shirts. And
right.
I said, why do you want the washer and dryer? I said, because I want to make sure it won't wash off.
Right. Yeah, that'd be a kind of a bummer.
It took us a while to figure it out, but we printed the black with the silver wings. And we sold thousands of dozens, thousands and thousands of dozens. And
because a black T-shirt is now the most, that's what you have a concert shirt. Even to this day, it's always a black
I was
shirt.
the first one. Nobody did black until I did black on the black.
Crazy.
And then now, like we were probably doing some black with some different colors, but you couldn't do silver.
Right.
Silver, because it takes some silver flake in the paint
To make it stick, right.
It would the first one just washed right off, So that's kind of a crazy time. I did that, and then we ended up. I ended up with my accounts were we did 80% of the rock and roll business in the United States, but my accounts were Kiss, AC/DC, Aerosmith, Ted Nugent, and Boston.
Wow. I mean, you couldn't get any bigger.
LA, yeah.
How could you get any bigger in the 70s? I mean, there was no. That was it.
I mean, I'd get a call. Boston. We got a new group called Boston. And you just come to LA. We go to Mulholland Drive. We go to this guy's mansion. It's like sit down, make the T-shirt deal. I did it. I was just doing it.
That's so funny.
And then I opened a T-shirt retail store across from the largest record store in the United States.
Peaches. I knew Peaches
on Peachtree.
I know it well.
And so right across the street, I put up the T-shirt company store.
That had to do well.
That did real well. But understand, I was only doing this so I could go racing.
It's all for the racing. And
I was not into rock and roll.
And it gave you a great lesson, because that picture behind you, there's a good story about getting Mattel and Hot Wheels back into racing, right?
Well, that's a whole story in itself. I mean, it's, back in those days here, it was like, if you got to hunt if you want to eat.
Right.
I hunt every day. Right. So nobody ever gave me a thing. No, unfortunately, nobody. My phone didn't ring and say, "Hey, People would say to me, "Well, Jack, what are you going to do next?" I'm going to do whatever I can do next. I don't know what I'm going to do next. And whatever the opportunity comes along, I'm going to do it. And listen, there were some real lean years. There were some real tough years where you had to dig deep. But the one thing that I couldn't get past, the one thing I said, the easiest way to fail is to quit. And if I quit, then in my life, I'm going to look back and say, I didn't get there. I didn't make it because I quit.
Right.
I wasn't willing to do that. And a lot of people around me were saying, Jack, this is crazy. How long are you going to keep doing this? Right. And, it was tough. It was hard. And, but I just kept trying. And then I'd get to drive a race car about once a year. And every time I drove one, I drove it to the front.
Right.
I'm like, well, I know I can do this. I just need the opportunity. Right. And the opportunity came with the Malibu Grand Prix Mazda. That's how it all started with Young.
And for those of you who don't know, Malibu Grand Prix was a go-kart track, for lack of a better term, basically in Southern California, but I guess it expanded a little bit beyond that for a while.
Oh, yeah, it went all over the country.
Yeah, and it was crazy. Open-wheel go-karts that were like little Formula One cars or Indy cars at the time. They were crazy.
It was, and Ira Young was a Canadian. Right. He was a Canadian developer. He lived on Malibu Beach, right there next to all the hot, right there. Oh, I'd sit and have breakfast with him, and the water's literally splashing up on his deck. Oh yeah, and so I was down to the T-shirt business was good. I made a living. But my accountant called me one day and he said, look, a couple other things. I was the first one to ever put a sublimated T-shirt. IBM walks in and says, we're going to give you a machine so somebody can take a picture and put it on a T-shirt.
Right.
That was
huge.
I was the first one to ever do that.
Right.
So anyway, moving forward, my accountant called me and he says, and then listen, I was making money, but I was not getting rich.
Right.
And the whole object was, my plan was to spend, this is how naive I was. I'm going to spend 5 years. I'm not going to try to race. I'm not going to look for sponsorship. I'm going to spend 5 years. I'm going to make enough money I can sponsor myself.
Right.
And so now we're at about the 5-year mark. My accountant called me and says, look, unless you're willing to go down there and work every day, because the business is getting bigger, and unless you're willing to work there every day, this is not going to work.
Right.
I said, so you're telling me I can't get there from here? He said, that's your choice, Jack. He said, honestly, it's not going to work unless you spend all your, it's your business.
Right.
Well, I called up the Cohen brothers who wanted to buy it. I said, I'm done.
Right.
And they went, what? I said, no, I'm going to sell it to us. I sold it to them for cash in a paper bag. Right. And, all my debts were paid. I said, I don't owe anybody. My credit was good. My word was good.
Right.
Nobody screwed over. I got a fair chunk of change, not enough to make any difference in life.
Sure.
I don't know what I got. Right. 15 grand. It wasn't a bunch.
But it was a lot back then.
But it was a lot back then. And so, and I walked away. I never walked back in because once I realized that wouldn't get me where I wanted to go.
Wasn't the path.
I didn't want to do it.
Yeah. Wasn't the path.
Then it was rough again. Then I was in, so now I'm selling T-shirts and now I'm doing corporate stuff.
Right.
I'm copper tone and things like that. POP, point of purchase stuff. That like you go to the counter.
Sure.
I'm making a living. I'm bored to death. Joe Vardy, you know Joe Vardy.
Right.
You know that. Okay, so Joe calls me. Joe says, "Hey," because I had told Joe about a year earlier. I said, "Listen, if I were you, this is what I would do." And I told him how to pitch Dodge on their front wheel drive K car program.
Right.
So, I kind of laid out my idea, because I had a good idea every year, So I told him. So I'm sitting at my desk one day, and he calls me up. And he says, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm sitting here bored to death. He says, you want to go to Mid-Ohio? I said, no, not really. He says, well, I just wondered. He says, I got this brand new Chrysler New Yorker. I said, where the hell did you get that? He says, you know that Chrysler deal you told me about? He said, I got the deal, Jack. He said, I don't know what the hell to do with it. So he got so I said, wait a minute, you have the factory Dodge Shelby Charger program? He said, yep, I got it. And he said, Jack, you got to go with me because you got to help me. We got to figure this out. We got to figure out what we're going to do here.
Yeah. Wow.
Seriously. So he comes up the next day, picks me up, and we go to Mid-Ohio. And we start with the Carroll Shelby and, the Shelby Charger and the whole thing. That 2 years later, we won the championship.
Wow.
And then that program ended, and then I'm back to square one.
Right.
And it was like, and listen, it was grassrootsy,
right?
But it worked. There was a lot there, but I mean, it was crazy. Those times were crazy, but
and good exposure too, right? It was.
I drove the second car when we ran the second car, but it always broke because Joe was always trying stuff with the second car. Right. So, it was like when Daytona, when NASCAR they were thinking it was going to be a front wheel drive future, right? Mm-hmm. So a front wheel drive car would never go around the speedway ever. So they had us come over and bring the thing, and they said, we're down on pit road. There's Jim France, Bill France Jr., all the people down there. They're all down there. John Cooper and whatever. They're all down there. And they're like, Goodyear's down there. And we're like, okay. So talking to Joe, and I'm kind of stalking off to the side. And Joe says, they said, well, what are we going to do here? Well, Jack's going to get in that. And I walk over and say, wait a minute, me? He goes, oh, yeah, didn't I tell you you're going to do it?
You're the driver.
Yeah. So anyway, we went around Daytona, wide open, 3 laps to see what would happen. We had no idea what would happen. Sure. The car ran about 100 and I think we got it up to like 150, 60 miles an hour. The thing was fast.
And front wheel drive.
Yeah. And it went around there beautiful. Right. And just a little footnote, the first car to ever go around there like at speed as a test, that was what we did. And so we won the championship. Joe went on to do other things, and I was back to square one. And then I'd finally gotten to the point where I was 35 years old. I was in debt, and I didn't have any money. And I was like, I got to do. My mother called me and said, what are you going to do? You got to do something. And I said, okay, I'm going to go to the end of the month, and I'm going to go to the end of the month. And if I can't get a job and get things going, I'm gonna change directions.
Right.
It was hard for me to think that way, but
sure. It was the right thing to think. Right?
I was at a point where I'm like, I'm 35 years old. I got nothing.
Right.
I spent my whole life trying to go down this road. I'm not getting there. And so at first I was all miserable, like all bummed out. And then I said, you know what? Hell no. If this is the way it's going to be, I'm going to go down in flames. I was on the phone all the time. I mean, I was around the clock. And one of my calls was to Jim Downing. And because Jim had a shop in Atlanta, and,
right.
And a friend of mine, and I was, if there's any opportunities. So I called Jim, and Jim said, do you know a guy named Ira Young? I said, I don't know him, but I've heard his name. He says, well, I recommended you to him. And as somebody that could help build his team, he's buying my Mazda, my RX-7, because I'm going to Camel Light. And he says, so here, call Ira. So I immediately just hung up and called him. Sure. Of course, I don't even think he's in California. So I'm calling him at 4:30 in the morning.
Nice.
It's like, oh, gee, I'm so sorry. Like
but while I've got you.
Anyway, so I went out. So Ira says, I want you to come out. Jim might have told him a little bit, but he said, I want you to come out. I want you to, I want to meet you. We want to talk. And he said, I'll pay your expenses. Because I was sitting there thinking, Jesus.
How am I going to get there?
I had a credit card, but I kept my credit.
Right.
I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I can squeeze getting a trip out there, and he said, no, I'll pay your expenses. You come out and just whatever. So I remember at the LAX airport, and I'm like, renting a car, and I'm renting some little car, and I thought to myself, wait a minute, hold, stop. No, we're not doing that. We're renting a Thunderbird. So I come drive, let's go in style.
But if you're going out, go out in flames, right?
But I walk in the room meet Ira, first time, walk in, sit down. There's Ira Young, me, and Clayton Cunningham. And if you know that name, Clayton he ended up running the Nissan program and did all that stuff. So it's Clayton. And I remember that Ira said to me, one of his first questions was, he says, so why should I choose you? I looked right at him and said, because I'm going to win.
Wow.
And, so he chose me.
Good answer.
And that changed everything. We went to Daytona. We won that. That was the opportunity. And everything changed. I won Daytona. I won 2 championships back to back. The rest is history. That car went on to Tommy Kendall. I won Tommy, blah, blah. I've known Tommy since he was a teenager. So later I asked Ira, I said to Ira, so when I walked into your office and I sat down, what was your first thought when you saw me? He said, I saw the look of a desperate man.
It was written all over your face.
It was and he said, I knew you were the guy.
You were hungry and the guy.
And I remember the first time I won the Daytona, that's when I won my Daytona 24 hour.
Sure.
I got the trophies right there. Right. And I drove 13 of those hours. We got behind.
Wow.
And we got behind, and I had to drive 13 and a half hours of the 24. And I just remember running all night long at qualifying laps. And I said to myself, I kept saying, coming out of turn 1, I kept saying every lap, I'd say, when you got nothing, you got nothing to lose.
You got nothing to lose. Yeah, you got nowhere but up.
And every 7 laps or something, I'd get back a lap.
Right.
Something like that. Every hour, every 45 minutes, I'd get back 1 lap or something. And now we take the lead, and we ended up winning.
Wow.
So, and the rest was history. And then,
amazing.
It moved over to then it moved along from there.
Sure.
Right?
So IROC and to all the things you've done. We could do this all day. I enjoyed this so much talking to you. We didn't even scratch the surface. We
didn't even scratch the surface.
I know it. But
it gets more interesting as we get into
you got to promise me you'll come back on the show.
I'd love to.
I'd love to have you back on, and we will. I have one last question though.
Yep.
What's your daily driver now?
My daily driver is a Ram Limited pickup truck.
It seems like that's the most popular answer, isn't it, guys? It's always the pickup truck is that the race car drivers drive.
Well, I'm still riding dirt bikes in a pretty serious way.
That's awesome.
I've got a shop and I've got dirt bikes, and I don't do motocross. I do single track.
Sure.
We ride all over the country, and I ride with a bunch of guys that can really ride.
Sure.
And I'm still keeping up with them, and we're still doing fine, and that's what we're doing.
That's so awesome. Jack Baldwin, thank you so much for being on the show today. We really appreciate it, and we'll look forward to having you on again.
I'd love to come back and talk.
Absolutely.
Yep, absolutely.
We'll be back in just a couple of minutes with the Classic Auto Mall Show. We'll see you then.
Whether you want to buy or sell a classic, collectible, or special interest vehicle, you need to visit the Classic Auto Mall website for more information. If you're looking to buy, you can easily search our inventory of more than 1,000 vehicles on the web at classicautomall.com.
And we're back with the Classic Auto Mall Show from the Classic Auto Mall studio. That sounds like the Entourage entree. That's a great show.
It's a rocker.
Yeah, if you haven't watched Entourage, you got to watch it. It's great. It's what every guy would dream of, to go to California and hang out with his buddy who becomes a movie star. Yeah. What a great guest we just finished up with, Jack Baldwin, who had an amazing career, and we didn't even scratch the surface. So we'll have to have him back on, because there's plenty more where that came from. So joining us on our weekly segment, Mr. Keith Martin, publisher of Sports Car Market Magazine. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Glad to be here.
Yeah. How was your Christmas?
It was quiet. I had my family here. And
sure.
They had stockings, and I got in each one of my kids' stockings. I gave them a portable air compressor.
Because why not? That and a wrench.
Well, that seems to be the big thing today. This Christmas, the big push on social media was these little portable air compressors, and
they're amazing.
everything I've read says that you need to carry your own air with you.
I like that. I think that's very smart. But you know what's interesting? When we air up tires here around the mall, a lot of these tires are older tires that haven't, that are well past their life expectancy. And we like those little compressors that you can hook on, and you don't have to lean into the tire the whole time while you're filling it, because God forbid something were to happen and your face is right there. It's not a good thing. So to be able to plug these in, set a number, and walk away is much smarter.
Yeah, I've got my kids trained that, because sometimes we don't drive our cars for a couple of weeks, that the number one thing they have to do is just go and top off the tires.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's the way to do it. So your blog this week is Resolutions and Conundrums. See, I got that, a conundrum. That's a big word. So it's that time of year when we all start thinking about our resolutions and everything that we're doing and what we're going to do for the next year and what we won't do from the last year.
Well, I got myself kind of caught in a trap with these thoughts that I had, because they're really two separate things. Number one is I want to be driving cars that are easier for me to drive.
Sure.
And I'll tell you, that blog got a huge response to it from people. My left knee's starting to hurt. I can't get in and out of the car as much. We are all kind of, as we're aging, there are just limitations that are coming up. And so maybe it's okay to have an automatic. Right. Maybe it's okay to have power steering. Maybe it's okay. So on the one hand, I'm saying I want a more comfy car. My Alfa S4 91, we call that car Old Weezer.
Right.
Because it's incredible. It's 1966 technology, suspension, not much of a motor, but it's so comfortable.
Right.
And I spent a couple of grand to have the air conditioning fixed. Oh, you know how it is. Air conditioning just needs a recharge.
Yeah, that's all it needs. It works perfectly except a recharge. And that's just a can you buy down at the local car part store. And it's like $12, right?
AutoZone.
Right, $12.
No. My son was actually working as a manager in an AutoZone store. And when I had the AC not working, he said, well, let me go get the kit, Dad. And I said, Bradley, do you know what it's like to be lost at sea? and you don't have an oar or a sail or wind or a compass. I said, you're going to take that kit and try to install it, and it's not going to work. Right. And you're not going to understand why. And you're just going to be standing there in the parking lot of AutoZone crying.
Yeah, crying. And the people in AutoZone are going to be pointing at you going,
I know. It turned out mine had a bad compressor.
Well, yeah, of course, because it's never just it's out of Freon or the fluid. It's always something way more than that. It's like beating your starter with a hammer. That never works. I know. But it actually does work every once in a while.
The first compressor they got was from China, and it didn't work.
Right.
But when I went to, there's one really good AC shop in Portland called Max Radiator. Been here forever, and they're the kind of guys that this is what they do.
Right. Yeah, this is what they do. It's normal for them.
Right, and they just solved the problem. And it was about maybe $2,000. But I took the car to a couple of real hot places this summer, and I hate to admit it, but here I am in a convertible with the top up and the AC on.
Right. That's getting old. That's yeah.
Well, I had my AARP blinking light thing on the back of my car.
Exactly.
Have you renewed your dues? I've renewed mine. That kind of sticker.
I love that AARP discount, man. That thing, that's hot. Just whip out that car. Here we go.
That's right. Well, you put that next to your handicap parking thing.
Right. Exactly. That's what
it's like getting blackjack.
Yeah, that's what somebody told me when you go to Monterey, that the best investment you can have is to somehow get a handicap parking sticker, because
you only need one in a color copier.
Right. True. Yeah, a good color copier, right?
Not even that good.
So, and in all your collecting years, you've owned, gosh, a couple of hundred cars at least, if not more. And you've driven in every kind of rally and driving type of event that you can possibly imagine. What's left on the agenda? What do you, and it's you just said it a minute ago, the comfort level is as important as the.
There are two things coming up, Stewart. We're reaching the kind of the golden age of the last of the giant car shows, in my opinion. Right. For instance, the Healey Club is having its 75th anniversary next year.
Wow.
Right, and they expect about 600 Healeys to be at Lake Tahoe.
Wow, how cool is that?
But my guess is the 100th Healey show will be smaller.
Yeah, I would imagine even the 85th will probably be smaller.
Yeah.
It would,
So what I've kind of made a mission of is I'd like to try to go to some of these the national car shows that are close to me, like Lake Tahoe is 2 days away.
yeah, so it's close enough. Yeah, it's not across the country.
But I went to the 50th anniversary of the Healy, and I had a big Healy I drove down, and it was really wonderful. You know, those cars, because they have that fourth gear overdrive, they'll go 70 all day long.
Yeah, nothing worse than a 4-speed car that needs a 5th gear and driving down the highway, and you feel like the thing is going to rattle itself to death because it's just turning just too hard. It needs that 5th gear.
No, well, actually, a friend of mine has got a Bug Eye Sprite, and they just sent it to Europe to keep it for events over there. And the first thing they're having done is a Toyota 5-speed put in it.
And it works well. I guess it mates up well with that engine.
Yeah, enough. You know,
yeah, we could. You know. It's kind of like when that Apollo 13, when they had to make a box with anything that they had on the spaceship in order to filter out the air, and they were putting Coke cans and remote controls and
right.
So, but I think the event thing is important because there's a lot of events that I have. I mean, I've been in the car business a long time, but there's a lot of things I've never done. I've never been to Woodward Dream Cruise. I've never been to Iola with the big swap meet that they do down there. So there's always lots of things left on the list to do. And if you don't do them now, I don't know when to tell you you're going to do them.
Well, I think it's the time. I mean, but here's the conundrum. I want to drive a more comfortable car,
right?
But if I'm going to the Healy convention, I want to drive a Healy,
right? I don't think you pull up in a Buick Regal and be accepted.
Well, you park over in the bad spot by the porta potties,
right. So, and you know. Listen, we all have things on our list that we want to do. There's only so many hours in the day that you can do them. Are you mapping out this whole year of what you're going to do already, or are you just going to wing it?
Well, we may do an SCM tour. That's the secret I can't talk about.
Right.
In 2028, because it's our 40th anniversary.
Right.
So that's a big thing. Next June, I'm doing a 5-day all-inclusive Porsche tour. And I bought a new car to go on that, but I can't talk about it on this because it's a secret.
We've got a lot of secrets going on here, Keith.
I do. Well, between you and me, it's kind of like the Cold War, and you're trying to extract information, and I'm trying to hold it back so that all the watchers, they'll come back next week.
That's right. It's like my buddy says, when he goes out of town, he doesn't post on Facebook that he's out of town. He posts it when he's in town that he was out of town. And then I said, oh, great. So now when the robbers show up at your house, you're going to be home. I said,
exactly.
If they're going to rob you, make sure you're gone. You're in Europe or something, and then they just take what they want and leave the rest for you.
Here's the other thing I've been thinking, Stewart. I talked to some guys, friends of mine in the Healy Club, and I said, would you rent me your Healy for 2 weeks for $5,000?
Ooh, I like that idea.
That's assuming I'm a trustworthy driver,
sure.
and I'd be responsible for damages, and I'd carry my own insurance. But if you've got a good, solid Healy and you can't go, it's a lot cheaper for me to spend $5,000. And I'd rather spend $3,000, but I'll spend $5,000.
Right. You start at $3,000 and then work your way up to $5,000. So
yeah. Well, with Healy guys, you start at $500, and then what you do is it's cheaper. It'd be cheaper for me to rent one for $5,000 than to go buy one for $30,000.
Absolutely. And it's just like owning a boat. If you've got a place close to you that you can rent the boat that you would like to buy, and it's $1,000 a day to rent it, just rent it and see how many times you go out in the summer on it by renting it. Yeah. And you'll go out 5 times and it's $5,000. And if you own the boat, it'd be $50,000.
No, I totally understand. So I am trying to kind of make a list of events, multi-day events that I'd like to go on. I think this Healy event's important.
Absolutely. That's very important. And it's something that I'm certain you would write about in the magazine as well.
Yeah, and I don't really care whether I have a 104 or a 3000 or a 106 or which of the models, because it's not. I've owned all of them,
right?
And they're all relatively brutal.
Yeah, and you're not trying to impress anybody or unimpress them. You want to show up and be part of the crew. You want to have a Healy and enjoy the event. And it doesn't matter if you got the top of the line or the bottom of the line. It really doesn't make a difference.
That's right. That's right. So anyway, that's what I'm trying to figure out is how to drive a more comfortable car and at the same time go to these events that are 2 or 3 days away.
Right. So that's a conundrum. So I imagine you did get a lot of response from that, and hopefully you'll get some more response from our show as well too. Of maybe people come up with some ideas for you.
Yeah, people are. We're not alone. Those of us that are have been around the car hobby for a long time, and just all of us are kind of trying to figure this out. My MGA steering is too heavy for me.
Right.
Stuff like that just didn't matter 25 years ago.
Didn't even think about.
Well, no, and you owe it to yourself to set the car up the way you want it so that you enjoy it.
That's exactly right. I think that is so important. And if you like some aftermarket wheels on a car that's original, then so be it. And if that's your thing, then that's what your thing is. And we shouldn't make fun of anybody in this hobby, because we need all the camaraderie we can get in this world when it comes to the car hobby. Otherwise, like you said, the Healy Club and their 100th anniversary, nobody's going to be there. And the rest of these events, nobody's going to be at either.
Well, Bruce Canepa did an interview with us, and one of the things he talked about, he said, if you've got a 300 SL and it's too hot and you want air conditioning and it's your car, he said, I'm putting it in.
Putting it in. Yep, I'm putting it in, and if be damned, and who cares? Well, I think that's the. It's funny, we learn these things as we get older. Listen, I love an original car, and I love all originality, and that's my favorite part of the hobby. But I don't fault anybody for wanting to make a resto mod, or wanting to make a hot rod, or add air conditioning to a dual Gia or a Healy. It's okay. It's all okay.
I think that world is changing for us, Stuart. That people are becoming more accepting.
Yeah.
Of putting electric steering on a Daytona.
Absolutely, because if it's not enjoyable to drive, you're not going to drive it. And if you're not driving it, I don't get the point. I don't understand the point of owning it and not driving it. So,
agree 100%.
Well, Keith, I hope you have a wonderful New Year and New Year's Eve, and don't party it up too hard tonight. And we will see you next week, same bat channel.
Here's a special offer from Sports Car Market Magazine. Get a 6-month subscription for just $19.95 by going to sportscarmarket.com/test drive and the number 6. That's sportscarmarket.com/test drive 6. If you're a buyer, a seller, or just general classic car enthusiast, publisher Keith Martin says,
we've been around almost 40 years. It's the Wall Street Journal of the collector car world.
Activate your 6-month trial of Sports Car Market Magazine by going to sportscarmarket.com/test drive 6. Offers for a limited time. Be in the know with Sports Car Market.
The Classic Auto Mall Show with their host, Stewart Howden, executive producer, Steve Seth here, produced and engineered by yours truly, J.R. Russ, video editor, Randy Lammy. Available on ClassicAutomall.com, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Music courtesy of the Pat Travers Band. For tour dates, contact, and stuff, visit PatTravers.com. Produced by Car Smarts Media. Copyright all rights reserved.